Hey everybody, this is Brian with Bear Cards 34. Today I'm just coming back with a little video to recap my thoughts on the draft and also how that's going to impact my collecting for the rookie class for this year. So I'm all over the place with my collecting. I just love the game, I love the hobby, and so I love vintage, junk wax if you want to call it that, modern. I love it all. And I've really loved the Bowman U Chrome this year, especially now that Bowman and Topps have the licensing. It really adds to the cards, makes them look a lot better. And I actually saw Silver Sport rip a Bowman's Finest the other day. That looks really sweet too. They're these, I think they're called on-campus cards that look fantastic. So right here we've got the top three quarterbacks chosen in the draft this year, with Bryce Young going number 1, Stroud going number 2, and then Anthony Richardson, who went to the Colts, at number 4. So I'm definitely excited to potentially pull some of their cards and hoping for big things. I was able to see C.J. Stroud play in the Rose Bowl, and he was fantastic. It was an amazing game. The Utes, my team that I love, that I grew up just a few blocks away from the stadium, unfortunately they lost. It was a shootout. It was a very close game. And the Utah defenders, they only had, I think, one healthy cornerback. We had a backup running back starting at cornerback for the first time ever in that game. But it was a wild, fun game, and I'm really impressed with how Stroud played. He looked really good. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys pan out. I know Richardson's a bit of a risk. There's a high risk, high reward potential there, but he's a very athletic, talented quarterback. So it's really going to be interesting to see how these guys pan out in the next few years. So my Chicago Bears had the number 1 pick of the draft, and they traded it. So obviously a big PC thing for me this year is going to be the Chicago Bears players, the rookies from this year's class. And I have to say I'm a little underwhelmed with how they did in the draft. I mean, time will tell. There was nothing major that I was super excited about. They traded down to number 9, and I was really hoping they were going to get this guy right here, Bijan Robinson, who's just a beast. He is an awesome player. And I was really hoping somehow he'd be available at 9. However, the Atlanta Falcons took him at number 8. And I didn't think that they would, even though it was a great pick, because they have Cordell Patterson, who's just been fantastic for them as a running back the last couple of years. He was hurt last year. And so one of their rookies, Tyler Algier, who played in my home state of Utah, he was at BYU. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year. These are pretty sweet, these Panini Instants. They're out of 665. And he had a great rookie year, over 1,000 yards, like I said, with Patterson returning as well. So we didn't get Bijan Robinson. However, we did, in the 4th round, get his backup running back, Rashawn Johnson. I don't know much about him, so I'm hoping that he can play well. The Bears also picked up a receiver that round, Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati, a real speedster. So I'm hoping for big things from them. I'm hoping that they have some cards made this year that I can try to collect. Their top pick was Darnell Wright, a lineman from Tennessee. I remember reading a thing where he had shut down Will Anderson Jr., who was the 3rd overall pick. He just shut him down last year. And so he's got some talent, and they do need protection for Justin Fields. Fields is a playmaker. He had a really awesome season. He's a lot of fun to watch. He ran for over 1,000 yards. And he can throw it, but it's definitely inconsistent. So I'm really hoping, with a little more protection and a little more settled in the offense, that Fields can up his game as a passer. So we'll see how that goes this year. I think for me, one thing we have to include in the draft is, that we ended up getting DJ Moore, a really talented receiver. And I want to give another shout out to Steeler Card 7. I don't know that I fully appreciated this card until after the video. Not only is it a 1 of 1, and he put the Bears here and the Bears logo there, but even on the back, he got the Bears logo in there. So that's a nice custom 1 of 1 for me. So I'm hoping he plays well this year, and very happy to have that card. So, you have to include in that not just the players the Bears picked, but also just all the pieces of the puzzle, both now and in the future, that are a part of that. So for me, the guy that I was most excited for was this guy right here, as far as the Bears draft picks, was Noah Sewell. This guy has now become kind of a double PC for me because he is from Utah. He and his family, you guys may know the Sewell family. His brother Penei was a top draft pick for the Lions a couple years ago. They both played for Oregon, so their family lives in St. George, Utah. Originally, they're from Samoa, but they moved here like 10 or 15 years ago to Utah and played their high school ball here. Now, those guys both left to go to Oregon. I was disappointed they didn't go to Utah like their brother. Here's Nephi, who is, I think he's on the Saints. I believe he's on the New Orleans Saints. So Nephi Sewell, their brother, that's a card I got from Brian over at Burke Knowledge, and love that card, on-card autograph there. So all three of these guys, and Nephi did go to University of Utah, and so all three of these guys are potentially in the NFL if Nephi makes the team again next year. But very happy that the Chicago Bears chose Noah Sewell, and very excited to see him play, and hope he gets some playing time this year and that he does well. He was a fifth-round draft pick this year. First team All Pac-12 last season, and then a second team All Pac-12 this season. And back during his freshman year, he was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. So a very talented, good player right there. Now, I'm more of an NFL collector, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting cards of these guys in their NFL jerseys. But especially now with the licensing, I really do like these college cards as well. And one thing that was really enjoyable for me watching the draft over the weekend was I was more familiar with some of the players because of these cards that I've been collecting from Bowman U. I also was able to rip this Bryce Young refractor, so definitely happy to have that one as well. And let's see, next up I'll mention, I'll go on to Jaron Hall. So this is a quarterback from BYU right here. So these are the two, I got the parallel here in a pack as well. He's a talented player. He did well with BYU, and he was drafted, I believe, in the 5th round by the Minnesota Vikings. I know that the NFL Network had mentioned that might be one of the steals of the draft. Potentially, we'll see, but he's a talented quarterback. His dad, actually, I think he was a running back, but he played at BYU back in the 90s. Jaron Hall played his high school ball, college ball here in my home state of Utah. So I'm hoping that he does well in the pros, gets a chance with the Vikings potentially. Hope he doesn't play too well for the Vikings when he's playing the Bears, but otherwise, hopefully he'll get some playing time at some point in his career. Another guy I'll be keeping an eye out is Cam Latu. He was drafted by the 49ers in the 3rd round. He didn't play his college ball in Utah, but he's from Utah. Played his high school ball there, and so hoping for things from him. Now, a couple of Utah Utes were drafted. I'll save the one that I'm most excited for at the end. So along with the Chicago Bears rookies and some of the guys I've shown here, I'm really excited if they make some cards to get some Clark Phillips cards. Clark Phillips is a fantastic player. He actually committed to Ohio State, but then at the last minute moved over to Utah, and the Utes were just thrilled that he decided to come to Utah instead of Ohio State. He had a 3-year plan, and he's been saying this all along. It was exactly the same plan that Jalen Johnson, when he was at Utah, had, and Jalen is now on the Chicago Bears, go Bears. So Phillips' plan was 3 years at Utah and then go pro, and that's exactly what he did. He was a 2022 unanimous All-American, and there were some mock drafts that had him going late 2nd round. Most people thought he'd go in the 3rd. However, he dropped to the 4th round, unfortunately. But I think the Falcons, the Atlanta Falcons who picked him, I think they got a really good steal there. He is undersized, and that is why he fell in the draft. But he's very talented. He's athletic. He's tough. He's smart. He plays off the ball. He's just a great defensive back. And I'm really hoping that he has a good career over in Atlanta. So along with being a 2022 unanimous All-American, he was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year this past year. And I'm really hoping that they make some cards of him. Now, a guy who has less chance of having some cards made is this guy right here, but you never know. Show some love for the lineman. Braden Daniels, he was a 4th round draft pick for the Washington Commanders. A 6'4", 300-pound lineman, just an awesome, awesome lineman there. So hoping he gets some playing time pretty soon with the Commanders. Now, I will show one mail day. I'm really happy to have picked this one up right here. This is a Cam Rising. He is the University of Utah quarterback. The last 2 seasons, he's done very, very well. He was a 2021 first team All Pac-12 at quarterback, And 2022, he was the All Pac-12 honorable mention. So a shout out to Brian over at Walkenbach. He texted me and said, hey, there are a couple of really cool Cam Rising cards on eBay right now. And he sent me the link, and I saw this one. And even though it's not licensed, unfortunately, and I think it will be next year because Leaf was just bought out by Fanatics, and so this is a Pro Set card. But it's a super short print. It's 10 out of 10. And I just really loved the image on this. This is a Silver Crystals Auto 10 out of 10. Action Ink. So very happy to have that Cam Rising. Now, a guy that he was passing to just recently was a first-round draft pick. And that was Dalton Kincaid. And this is going to be my number one PC guy. You know, even with the Chicago Bears, because this is a tight end, the first tight end picked in the draft, first-round draft pick by the Buffalo Bills, and because I've been a fan of his for the last 3 years and really rooting for him, he'll be my number one rookie PC this year. And then second will be all the Bears players, especially Sewell. However, thrilled with Kincaid. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this in the draft, but basically the Buffalo Bills had the pick right after the Cowboys. And when they saw that Kincaid still hadn't been picked yet, and they had a really strong feeling that the Cowboys would take him because the Cowboys had just lost Dalton Schultz, who was also from Utah, played his high school ball in Utah, but he left Dallas, and so they were looking for a new tight end. So the Bills were very proactive, and they traded up. So they went from, instead of the pick after the Cowboys, they moved up to the pick before the Cowboys, and they snatched up Kincaid. There's actually a really funny Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, where Skip Bayless basically talks about how heartbroken he is that the Cowboys lost out on Kincaid, and it was a pretty cool back and forth. It's on YouTube if you guys want to check that out. But anyway, Kincaid is a very, very talented tight end. I pulled that in a pack. This one right here is one that I got on eBay a while back. This one is number 24 out of 50. So that's my shortest print Kincaid right now. And this is from the 2021-22 Bowman. This is the gold shimmer numbered to 50. Now, as great as a tight end as Kincaid was, what's kind of interesting was the guy who was the tight end number one most of the time that Kincaid was there was this guy right here, Brant Kuithe. So Kuithe was actually the number one tight end. Kincaid was number two, and they were both known as being fantastic tight ends. But Kincaid was the number two guy. And then Brant Kuithe was injured last season, like midway through, maybe even a little further than midway through, and missed time. And Kincaid just really came on strong. His big game that they talk about quite a bit was when we played USC. And in that victory over USC, Dalton Kincaid had 16 targets, and he caught all 16 balls. He had 234 yards. He had a touchdown. And that really bumped him up with, the potential for being drafted and everything else. And then, so now he's going to Buffalo to play with Josh Allen. I think it's going to be a great fit. I think they're going to love him out there. And he's just been fantastic. And the nice thing as a Ute fan is that Brant Kuithe, because of the injury, decided to return for another season. So he's back with the Utes this year. So he and Cam Rising will try to three-peat with the Pac-12 championship, which I think is going to be even more difficult this year than ever. And I had picked up these Pro Set autograph cards over a year ago. And here's what's really funny. So I took a look at this Kincaid card on eBay this morning. I bought this card, I think, for $7 or $8 back in February of last year. So we're talking, 14 months ago or so. And now, the one that I saw on eBay that was for sale, it was up to $64 with 3 hours left. There had been 21 bidders. So that card has really skyrocketed just recently with the draft. So anyway, really hoping that Kincaid does well. I'm excited for the draft class this year and seeing how things go. Really hoping that the Bears have found something with their draft. I guess we'll see. I think the Eagles just did fantastic on their draft. I think the Seahawks did well. There were a handful of teams that did really well. I think it's going to be neat to see Joey Porter Jr. playing for his dad's old team, the Steelers. And I think Bijan Robinson's just going to be fantastic. I'm hoping his backup, who's now going to be with the Bears, has a little something in the tank as well. So anyway, that's going to do it for today. I do have a a recent mail day from Dustin over at Dustin and Blake that I'm going to open on my next mail day. I'm excited to rip into that. And in the meantime, hope everybody's doing well, and good luck to your guys' teams, and let's see how 2023 goes. Anyway, everybody, thanks for watching. Take care, and as always, go Bears.